September 19th meeting of the Regional Wastewater Advisory Committee. And welcome to everybody here. We'll start with roll call. All right, Eric Solwald. Eric?
Here.
Okay, Rob? I see you, Rob. I gotcha. Okay.
Present. Good to hear you.
Matt Mathewson?
Here.
Alan?
Here.
There's Scott Colt?
Here.
Craig?
Here.
Claire? Here. Steve?
Here.
Scott Oldendorf?
Here.
And Alejandra is coming in now. Good morning, Alejandra. I have you for the roll call.
Thank you. Good morning.
And Kirsten. Did I miss anybody? All right, we have quorum. Excellent. We're going to move on to item C, which is the virtual meeting reminders. Please remember to mute your microphones to ensure that there's no feedback or background noises that may interfere with the speaker. If a committee member would like to speak or ask a question, don't forget to raise your hand. Use that feature on your computer. Remember to lower your hand after you're done. When you're ready to speak, please don't forget to unmute your microphone, especially important during votes. And do not forget to mute your microphone at the end. As a reminder, audience members are only permitted to speak during the call to the audience unless they're called upon by the committee. And this meeting is being recorded to satisfy the open meeting law requirements. Great. Okay, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. And now we'll move on to the call to the audience. Do we have any audience members that would like to participate at this time? No? Okay, we'll move on to the safety shares. Is there a safety share for us today? We had one at our finance meeting. Maybe, who was it that gave that one? Anybody have a safety share? I don't remember what we did. I don't remember who gave that one.
I'll save you. Yeah, we've been using, it's really unusual that, of our reportable injuries this year, over half of them are injuries related to vehicle accidents. And most all of them have been not at fault of our drivers. They've been hit by others. But, it's just always, we've been pushing it a little bit more in our safety shares, just the defensive driving, and it's holiday time where everywhere you go, it seems to be hectic and busy and crowded. So just use extra caution, slow down, don't be in a rush, and drive defensively. That's it.
I was driving north on Silver Bell in the left lane through a green light, and someone pulled out, to go north with me. And normally they would pull in the right-hand lane, and they pulled into my lane, and I had to slam on my brakes and honk. And my first thought was, oh, good, I can still chair the meeting. That's dedication. It's that dedication. I just thought you liked that.
And I love that you honked. That shows.
Oh, man, I was like, and she was pretty apologetic. She just was like moving right in my lane. Okay, and Eric, did you have your hand raised? Was there someone?
No, just, this is the time of holiday parties. So moderation is not the exception, it should be the rule.
Oh, it's a little hard to hear you, so is your volume?
Push up the volume, how's that?
Oh, you're kind of on the microphone.
Maybe it's just where you from the microphone.
Well, I can give another little safety share. Everybody deserves a giggle as the holidays are approaching and all that. You're not always in control of your own safety. my car went through its third transmission in 85,000 miles. And luckily it was under warranty. I got my transmission replaced. It was all done. The technician took it out for the test drive to make sure it was working correctly. And lo and behold, right off its right side, off of a driveway comes a car and takes out my car. So my car's been gone for 3 months. I just got my baby back yesterday after 3 months. So anything can happen, even with other people driving your car. So you just gotta be safe out there.
Yeah, thank you. Any other safety shares? All right, I think we're gonna be safe. I hope we are all safe for this holiday. It's important. We'll move to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve? Eric, did you have Eric, I see your hand is up.
He moved the motion.
Oh, you moved.
I'll second.
Wait, hard.
Scott will do his work.
Any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion passes and it's approved. We'll move on to the discussion and action items. We have to start with the director's update. Jackie?
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'll just start by wishing everybody a safe and joyous holiday season and a Merry Christmas. And thank you for another calendar year of being part of the success of this utility. Your time that you give to us is very appreciated, and I just wanted to extend that personal thank you. Just a couple of tidbits, good news. We like some good news. Our largest facility that, I kind of consider our flagship is the Tres Rios facility. And we just had a ADEQ inspection of a large facility. And you kind of go into it wondering, are they going to find something? I think we run a very good and tight ship, but you're always a little nervous wondering, all right, what did we miss? Or what shift was on? Did they forget something? And sure enough, we had a great audit, a great inspection, and passed with flying colors and no issues. And Jeff, I don't know if there was anything else stated or anything, if you're aware of it, but I thought it was great news. So just another checkbox for us, and onward we go.
Great.
Another positive is the Continental Ranch Regional Pump Station. We've been, previously, it's been a few years ago, we upgraded the pump station, but the most recent CIP capital project was adding two additional pipelines to the existing pipeline for capacity, because we were near maxed out in that system. And that system was just completed and put into service. The other pipelines, is everything working now? I mean, we're all good. So that's another nice, positive, successful project completed. So thank you, Jaime and the team. And wow, that's all I have. I'm saving all my time for Mark Evans. We don't get to see Mark here often, and so we'll let him do his piece. But thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the community communications update. Mark Evans, Director of Communications Office, is here to talk to us today. Thank you.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for inviting me today to talk to you. I've been to Tres Rios several times, so it's the first time I've been to Agua Nueva. It's a really nice campus. If you got a spare room, Jackson, I'd want to move down here. It's pretty cool. I wouldn't have to pay for parking either.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for having me. The communications office was created by the county administrator about 12 years ago, and over time it has grown to become a full service communications shop that supports all the departments of the county, and occasionally the elected officials, the reporter, county attorney, things like that. As a full service shop, what that means is we can do pretty much anything that you need for mass communication. we can do this very simplest things like door hangers. If you're doing boots on the ground outreach to very large scale media campaigns. Or my good friend Jeff Pravat down there can speak to how we've supported the department in a pretty large way when he was making beer back in the day. That was a really fun project. So if you want to do that some more, Jeff, we'd really get on board with that. But we have graphic design, social media, copywriting, strategic comp planning, media relations, public outreach. We do outreach support. We also have a full service print shop. We can print everything from tiny little stickers all the way up to signs for buildings or trails and things like that. In fact, our signs cost a lot less than the current county vendor. So if you want to save some money, Jackson, let me know. I can hook you up. So the primary way that we support and the district is through the bills. So every month, about 470,000 customers of the district get information in their bill insert that we design, and that goes out, Tucson Water, all the water companies that put those bills out. And then 3 times a year, we have a specific flyer that is just for us. We're not, having to work for space with the water companies on their bills. This is strictly for the water district, and that goes out 3 times a year. And then from there, our support depends on what Jackson's up to. So any new initiatives, new projects, new openings, when you've completed the methane energy recapture and use, we did some media on that, a lot of outreach. We're doing we've pretty much taken over the marketing and the program for the grease recycling. We're trying to build it into a year-long effort rather than just heavily emphasized at the holidays. Right now, we're trying to find multiple locations. We've had plenty of people volunteer to have us just put up a bucket and you come dump your grease. That doesn't seem like that would work out too well. Probably get a little messy. It needs to be staffed. And of course, then everybody wants to say, well, who's paying for that? And so we're still trying to find those locations. We have some ideas through the solid waste facilities and talking with DEQ. So hopefully I'll have some good news for you on that next month. And then from there, it's helping you with whatever requests come from the department. There's different types of communications that we do. The most ubiquitous is transactional. You need people to do something at a certain time. You need people to know something or go somewhere or stop doing something, stop flushing those supposedly flushable wipes, things like that. But then there's also branding and helping people understand what it is we do, why we do it, how we support the public, how good we are at our jobs. And that's branding communications. And so we do some of that as well, primarily through social media. It's a really difficult landscape now in this modern age to do mass comm because everybody consumes information in different platforms. There's still people who watch TV and read the newspaper. There's a lot of people who now use social media heavily to get their information. There's people who still like newsletters. They still like to read that email. And so we as a shop, our motto is to meet people where they are. The problem with that is because the audience is so divided, it's hard to measure the efficacy of what you're doing for free. And as Jackson knows, I'm constantly asking him for money, right? I can do lots of stuff for free, but I can do really good stuff with funding, and that is a constant struggle within the county. All the departments have to be good stewards of their budget. And when I'm constantly asking them, hey, if you give me $100K, I could really knock this out of the park for you. They look at me like I have two heads. So we do as best we can, as much as we can for free. That's why we put a lot of emphasis on social media. Social media has about an 85% market penetration. Just about everybody has some sort of contact with social media. From there, is trying to get people's attention because there is so much content, because it is just a fire hose of content and information. Trying to get people to say, hey, look at me. So we try to use common practices. That often means trying to use humor and be clever. That can often backfire. So we have to be really careful about how we're doing it. We always check with the department before we do something like that. Some departments have great senses of humor, and some departments not so much. Jackson has a really good sense of humor, as I'm sure you all are well aware. My favorite part of our directors meeting is Jackson Jenkins' story time. He always has something good to say when we're all meeting together as directors in the county. But that's pretty much it for the communications office in terms of what we do in full scope, and a little bit of what we do for the regional wastewater. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
How large is your staff, the communications?
So the communications office has 32 people. 6 of those are strictly for the print shop. The print shop would exist whether the communications office existed or not. It predates us by about 20 years. We save the taxpayers in the county a lot of money because we bill for cost. So if we didn't exist, the departments would have to go out to the private sector and they'd have to pay that profit markup. And so that's how we're able to save money. The rest of the staff, there's a few admins, there's writers, there's photographers, videographers, graphic designers. We produce about 1,000 pieces of content a month for all the county departments. So it's a big staff, but it produces an enormous amount of information. Our social media, we reach about 1.5 million people a month with our social. With our other content, we're reaching about 750,000. Now, granted, those are a lot of the same people over and over again. But we think we have a pretty good audience to reach when there's information to put out there. And I lost track of what your question was. How big was my staff? It's staff.
And also used to get a hard copy of a wastewater newsletter, but I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, so that's expensive to print and distribute, and the uptake on those was limited. There was a lot were getting thrown away every month because people didn't take them. And if you're going to mail them, the cost of postage these days is really high, and it's much cheaper just to email it to people. So that's why we heavily use our newsletters. So we have about all told, I think we have about 35,000 people who subscribe to our newsletter.
If we go out for a rate increase, which we're planning to this spring, we're gonna need some help with getting that message out. And so I'm curious if your inserts in the water bill are on a certain time frame.
Yeah, so those are every month. Those are based on the billing schedules for the water departments. We know what that is year in, year out. So we'll know, when you're going to propose it. It'll start here, right? So you will vote on it and make your recommendations, and then from there we go to the board. So there would be a several month process there.
And the thing that is affecting it is the public hearings. Of course, we want people
Yes.
to know about those.
And that's the other thing that we do is outreach. If you'll forgive the minor vulgarity, we put butts in seats. So if, when you're ready to do that, we would work with Jackson and his team, and we would develop a marketing plan for that. Both free and for money. So again, I would ask Jackson for money.
Let's ask finance this time. That's the kind of
Yeah,
their side.
Ellen's on there. She's got all the money, so we can ask her.
You have a question for me? Matt?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Great to have you visit us, Mark. Appreciate it. I remember years ago, and probably around the time of community or the communications office origins, I think you said maybe 12 years ago, wastewater department had a community relations staff that did all this kind of work for the department. And then as part of the county's consolidation of positions move over the years, those positions moved, I believe, to the communications office. And I don't have a good recollection of, and it's probably changed since then, of what the exact business arrangement is between the department, the wastewater department, and the communications office as far as funding of positions goes. Are some of those positions still directly funded by wastewater, or do we pay a certain amount every year? Is there a budget line that covers, as you say, the free work that's done? How is that working right now, not only from a process standpoint, but I guess quality? How is it going?
So the communications office is a service of the county. We do not charge for the work that we do. One of the reasons that we did consolidation, so I'll use Jackson's department as an example, this the wastewater department as an example. Jackson, the community relations outreach team, they needed to promote things. They would come to our office, we do the design, we do a lot of the writing, we do a lot of the legwork, we go back to the community relations team. Community relations team would then go to the wastewater team, talk to them, what do you think? They'd make changes, the community relations team would then go back to the communications office. So by moving the community relations team into the communications office, really all we did was cut out a middleman. It's still the same support, it's just there isn't that kind of person in the middle who's, one got to hear from the wastewater team and what they want to do, and then deal with the communications office and how they want to change that and do it differently. And then they're constantly in the middle, and this got rid of that situation. I think the people came to my office with money. The budget allocation that had been in the wastewater department was transferred to the communications office. But from now, it's just in my budget, and I pay for it now. So the only time that the wastewater department is spending money on communications is when we have to pay for mailing, whether we're buying ads. For instance, for the grease campaign, I think the budget for that is about $20,000. The bulk of that is for the marketing campaign and for the advertising that we're doing. So at this point, the only time wastewater provides money to the communications office is if I ask it and it's freely given. Right?
Free, did you say freely?
Yeah.
You said that the wastewater newsletter wasn't being done in a hard copy anymore. You said, I think it was email version and all that. How does somebody get signed up so they can receive that?
So we have multiple places on our county website to sign up for the newsletter. It's one of the things we also do on our social media, and sign up for our newsletter. Get information about the wastewater district. We also do the newsletter for internally for employees, the pipeline. That's mostly written by staff, though. We design it and send it out. But that is the wastewater district talking directly to its own employees.
So how, oh, okay, but I used to get the pipeline years ago. I haven't seen it for years. How could I get included in that?
I don't know.
Justin has been sending me those Word documents, and I've been forwarding those to you when they're available
I've been seeing that.
in the meeting minutes. I haven't received one for Justin in 2-3 months, but they're not sending them out monthly anymore.
I guess I just haven't seen them. Okay,
I'll check on that for you and I'll get back to you.
okay.
All right.
One last question for Mark. When are we gonna bring back the poop emoji as our mascot?
As soon as you convince the county administrator that it's okay to do, so she's the one that put the kibosh.
Aw.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll let the county administrator speak for herself. She's not a big fan of the tchotchkes. She gives a hard time to all the departments that make things like that. It's not just that particular one. Did we do a toilet for you though?
No, we don't have the toilet.
No.
It's water.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mark? Okay, we'll move down the list.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mark.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
And we're gonna move to the proposed rate increase, proposed schedule of activities and events. And Jackson, did you want to talk about this or pass to Matt? How do you?
Well, yeah, I was gonna bring it up, so, you know, it's been so long since we've done rate increases, as staff has gone back through the old notes of back in our last increase, which went into effect, June of 2017, I think. I'm looking at minutes of meetings and all the things that need to be done. They've come up with a timeline, and we discussed it in the subcommittee, financial subcommittee meeting, Matt and his team, all of whom are here today. And then some of my staff were also participants. And of course, that was our last topic that we had time for. And I basically shared that the timeline is very tight to get things implemented, you know, here near the end of the fiscal year, shortly after the fiscal year. And I know how this committee does not like to be pressured or pushed, but I would like to hand off this discussion to Matt or the team. Ellen and her staff were on there, but there were some discussions that I think were important to talk about the timeline. And, you know, we have a kind of some timeline items, a little cheat sheet that we can always put up here to share for people to see. But Matt, would you maybe jump in and hand the baton to somebody that you think needs it for this discussion?
Yes, and if you don't mind, I'll just include my report on the committee meeting as along with it. As I think Jackson just mentioned, the financial subcommittee met yesterday to continue our study of the 4 financial pillars with a focus on the $50 million cash reserve requirement. And to assist us in that regard, we worked with staff on a proposed Board of Supervisors policy that would outline the rules regarding wastewater's restricted reserves. During that discussion, it was clarified that the $50 million unrestricted cash reserve pillar isn't technically regarded as a financial reserve, but more of a contingency surplus. And then beyond the reserves discussion, we did consider a proposed timeline developed by staff of necessary process actions to implement a rate increase in the next fiscal year 25 to 26. In fact, they developed two proposed timelines for us, one to achieve a July 1 effective date for an increase, and one with an open to be determined effective date. And based on input from both the wastewater and finance, both Jackson and Ellen, we determined there just wasn't enough time to accomplish all of the necessary actions in reasonable fashion to make a July 1 date work. And again, with input from both wastewater and finance, we decided to recommend a timeline to you, the full committee, featuring a possible effective date of January 1, 2026. We will provide you with the proposed timeline for review prior to considering it for final approval. We further suggest that you provide us through Jeanette with any questions or concerns or other comments about the proposed timeline prior to our next subcommittee meeting. Although we don't have a date set for that meeting at this time, I suspect it will be sometime in the middle of January. So if you could provide any input on the proposed timeline by January 10th, I believe we can make that work. So in conjunction with all that, I guess I'm going to ask Jackson and Jeanette, do we have the timeline available as an electronic product to show the committee, or is this something we need to distribute to them?
I can forward that to the full committee.
And we can share it on the screen too, right? If we need to, but I know there was some other discussion, because I had to leave for another meeting at the end, so I didn't get to participate in the full discussion. But I think that maybe Ellen chimed in that there was, that the rate increase would have to be approved by the board for the budget, which would be in June, at the June board meeting, whichever board meeting they have to do that in. And in order to meet that timeline, it kind of puts us back on almost the end of the fiscal year, or the beginning of the new fiscal year, only maybe slightly, maybe it gives us, you can wait for 30 days till it goes into effect or something. So maybe it's August, but I wasn't there, so I'll hand it off to Ellen in that part of the discussion. You're muted, Ellen.
Having technical difficulties with my mouse. Sorry. Good morning. Yes, what we had talked about yesterday was any proposed rate increase would need to be included in the 26 budget process. Timing of the implementation of that rate increase could be after July 1st. It could be at any time during the fiscal year. We would just need to make sure that when we're putting the budget together, that we know when we would like the rate increase to go in, so that we can calculate the percentage of the year increase in revenues for the budget itself. The budget is, if we can identify, the budgets are due on January 17th. I know that we won't have vetted through you the rate increase, the rate workbook package. But what we can do is we will be getting that to you in January, and we can put in an estimate as a supplemental, the increase in the revenue stream, and continue to walk that through the budget process as you walk through the analysis and the determination of when and how you want those rate increases to go into effect.
If I may jump in really quick, I think I'm clear in my mind, being the ones who did the motion in a second.
Yeah.
The date that we actually proposed, Matt, was January 15th, not the 1st. Just so that Ellen has that for her supplemental date.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I believe there was some discussion about, yes, the date still has to be met, but that having a bit later start date on the actual rate increase, I believe that alleviated some of the pressure, correct? And that's why we went with the later date.
I think that's correct because it basically allowed those public stakeholder meetings to begin in March of this
Right.
coming year. It gives us January and February for us to get our act together to hold those meetings, but still make it to the Board of Supervisors to adopt before the July 1st adoption of the new budget. So Ellen can do what she needs to do, we can do what we need to do, but still get the stakeholder meetings.
But it's still quick.
It's very quick.
And did you guys in that discussion decide if you wanted for a recommendation to have 1 or 2 public meetings?
We did not decide on 1 or 2, but we did forward it for discussion here. So I think that that's appropriate at this meeting to, I think it would actually be useful to just run down through the schedule verbally with everybody and have that discussion about whether we have 1 or 2 meetings and roughly when they occur.
And to clarify for the rest of the board, what we're asking is for you to, understand how much Jeanette's gonna go through, look at this, and then give us feedback on why she's recommending what she is with the timeline. She's kind of backed some things up. But also if any of those dates for some weird reason have a concern for you, because we're gonna have to adopt the schedule pretty quickly
Right.
in our next meeting. So we need your comments back about concerns.
So maybe we could, if everybody's okay with that, it would be good to just kind of run down the schedule of events. Matt, would you like to lead this portion or?
I was gonna have staff lead it.
Staff.
They prepared the
Okay.
spreadsheet if Matt's okay with that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Marla, I'm giving you control.
Okay.
You know what happened last time you gave her control?
Is it? There we go. I clicked on you a few times. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so the timeline that's developed and I'm trying to see.
Can you guys hear Marla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this particular timeline that is in the packet or will be in the packet shows. It shows already activity that the RAC committee has already taken. It starts off with, us discussing, or the RAC committee discussing the proposed rate increases along with the rates book and voting back in February to recommend that, to support the 1.75 rate increase on sewer user fees over the next 4 years and a 3% increase on the connection fees also over the next few years. And the subcommittee then wanted to do kind of a deeper dive into some of the information in the rate book and the information contained there. So they've been holding their meetings, but we're looking at now for future activity. If we're going to get a rate increase proposal in with our budget, and our budget needs to be approved in June of 2025, that we really need to kind of start looking at what public meetings you want to hold, when you want to hold them, how many you want to hold, probably in the January meeting. So the committee would need to look at that kind of a schedule starting in January. Possibly we could go as late as February, but as we move through the process here, our proposed schedule is showing that we're going to start holding our public meetings early in March. And we have certain timeframes that we need to meet for all public meetings. We need to have a 15-day notice in the newspaper. We can do social media notices as well, but we are required to have a 15-day notice in the newspaper for any public meetings that are held. So the green activity or the green bars represent what wastewater staff would need to do in order to meet all of the deadlines if we go with the March public meeting. So this schedule shows the first public meeting being held March 4th. And again, that's kind of an arbitrary date. The committee needs to decide what dates they want. The activity that the staff would need to do to support holding the public meeting. And then the next public meeting we hold approximately around March 19th. then that would give the staff working with Pima County Attorney's Office time to write the ordinance, review the ordinance, put in the changes that were discussed during public meetings. And then we have a 60-day requirement by the county that any proposed rate increases need to be publicly noticed for 60 days prior to them going to the board. So if we're looking at a June 17th board meeting, then we need to put that notice or the notification out by April, mid-April actually. So kind of the information that will get forwarded to you, that's all the activity that we're looking at and proposing. And again, it's kind of up to the committee to decide when they want to hold their public meetings, how many they want to hold, where they want to hold them. So we're just kind of looking at the deadline looming up, probably at your January meeting.
Can you give us a recommendation, just so we have a little more structure to it? Generally, would you prefer to hold these in a weeknight? What night of the week? What time have you found them to be useful? Do you like daytime meetings? I mean, just a little context for.
You know, in the past, the RAC has held their meetings both during the daytime and in the evenings. The last ones I can recall, I remember one being held at the board meeting where the Board of Supervisors meets. We held one there one time during the day.
Not at the board meeting, but
But
at that location.
That location.
So it's a downtown location where, buses run and all that to give opportunity to get there.
I think we held one at this location and it was probably an evening. We held one at the library, or excuse me, the park's main office, which is off of River Road. I believe that was an evening. The committee held one up on the library off of Fair Canyon and Tanka Verde. I believe that was an evening meeting. And a lot of it depends on the RAC committee's availability of when they could come to the meetings. Just like a RAC meeting, we have to have a quorum. So you have to get commitment from all members that they can attend the meetings, and we can have a forum so that we can hold the meeting and discuss the proposed rate increases. So again, it might be worthwhile to doodle everybody to see if they have a preference to the day of week, timing, what they could commit to as far as attending a meeting so that we could meet the quorum.
And would you recommend, Jax, maybe this is a question for you, would you recommend 2 or more meetings? What?
No, not more.
Not
I would recommend, 2 is typically the most we've done in the
Okay.
past at any given rate increase.
Mhm.
And the only reason again was one was in a daytime at a convenient location, and one was in the evening for people that work. And that should be sufficient, but we always took into consideration how controversial might it be. Personally, it's been a long time with the rate increase and they're pretty mild, I don't expect, but rate increases are rate increases and the board will want to know. So I would recommend the 2, but
Okay,
we would need to advertise them like together, once this date, once that date to meet the criteria for 15 days. I think it has to be advertised and maybe do one in the board, in the daytime downtown where people can go if they're interested, and one here.
would you recommend they're both in the same week or
Um,
2 weeks?
just on a time basis, and within 2 weeks, you could do one week and one the next, or one a Tuesday, one a Thursday, or something like that on the same week, but definitely close together.
Okay, so it sounds like the recommendation is that we have 2 public hearings, 1 during the day, 1 in the evening, both on weekdays in adjacent weeks. So I think that's probably sufficient information to put out a doodle poll for everybody. Does that sound good to the committee?
And just for those that haven't gone through rate increases, which probably a lot of you haven't, it's like this meeting here, but basically we'll just do a financial rate workbook presentation or something about the rate increases themselves and why they're needed. But we typically don't do a lot of other agenda items, but we can, but typically it's just that focus. And they're usually not for the most part, they haven't been super well attended. But, it's a formality we have to do, and let's get it
So
done.
it looks like our February meeting is the 27th. And just to give us enough time, I think we need to, so that we have that meeting as well, I think we need to look at the week of the 17th and the week of the 24th of March. What were these public?
What's on Marla's calendar right now is a straw man?
What?
Sorry, what,
She has the 19th.
I didn't hear you.
I asked what the straw man dates were, what,
4th and 19th?
4th and 19th, and Claire, you're saying we need to back that.
And if we want to have February for any additional discussion, do we need,
But you can have your discussion still in February, but if you know you want to do 2 meetings, when, anytime after the February meeting, you should be able to have a
we can,
public meeting.
okay, we can do the, all right,
It's just,
all right.
it's,
Okay.
let's
Well, then
decide.
maybe the middle 2 weeks in March.
Well, send out the doodle.
Yeah, send out the doodle poll somewhere between the 3rd and the 21st. Try and get them done.
And then the RAC committee is asked to say yes to all of the possible dates
Right.
that we could attend.
And then the majority.
Majority would win, just like we do for our financial subcommittee. meetings
Right.
Across, okay.
Did everybody hear that? So when you get the doodle poll, don't just fill out one day that week that you can do it. Put all of your availability down. So that we can look at the best possible thing for everybody. All right, any other discussion on that?
So then what are we asking apart from that, with the rest of the RAC committee regarding this calendar? Are we just asking for the dates? Are we asking for any other discussion for them to come back to us with on the schedule?
Yeah, I think we want the timeline sent out to all the committee members just for a more in-depth review, make sure that there's no questions or concerns raised in the timeline, and seek input and questions for our subcommittee's consideration at our January meeting.
And how do those get sent from the committee? So we're not having a meeting, about what the meetings thing, how do they send their comments forward to us? Do they go through Jeanette? Just privately?
Yes,
through Jeanette?
I think the communication should be through Jeanette.
I mean, at this point, we need to, we've already had a lot of discussion about the rate increase. We've agreed on that. So really, I think what we're doing is we're deciding on the public meeting schedule.
And just something that came to mind, and I better throw this out there. In the past, remember 2016, late or June of 2016 or 2017 was the last increase. So was the time before it where we did all these things. There weren't Teams meetings, there weren't these things pre-COVID. And so I'm assuming both meetings would be like these, a hybrid meeting where we'd have a meeting in person, but people could get in online.
So that's good to
You
know.
could have more participation that way. I'm not sure how, like at the board meeting, you have people there, but I think that people can log in, but I'm not sure how questions and interactions. So I haven't paid that close of attention, but we'll find out a little bit more. But just know, I would assume it's gonna be hybrid, and so there could be some more interesting interactions, but we'll have to sort through that as quickly as.
So, given that, I hadn't thought of that possibility. I think it would be good maybe at our January meeting to start the discussion of what actually happens at that public hearing. So sort of like a draft agenda for what that would look like, how we take questions, how we limit people, whether the Zoom is, what kind of Teams. I mean, not everybody has Teams. Do we want to use Zoom? That's maybe more approachable to some people.
Has the county done kind of all these recently that we can draw from the?
Yeah,
Sure.
I guess if we could just have, I don't think we need to hash out all the details now, but I would like to have some sort of idea about how we take questions, how we stop problems if it's on Zoom, or on remote, how we address things. So
Are there time limits for people to give
time
comments?
limits, exactly.
3 minute, 5 minute?
Yeah, we can set that criteria.
Because in a meeting, they would fill out a card. It would say who they were. There's a little bit of accountability. In a Zoom meeting, there's a lot less accountability.
Good one.
So, yeah, so why don't we have that discussion in our January meeting? I would want to put it off till February. And then in February, we confirm how we will handle this, run the meeting and things like that. Sound good? So I don't know that we need a motion at this point. I think, we'll do the doodle and, I think we can, move on without a formal motion for this unless there's any objection to that.
And we'll make everything happen in January at the next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go through it and we'll make those decisions. Does that sound good to
I agree.
everybody?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? I'm really excited. This is a big deal. We're like moving up into activity and then we can like slide back into our normal.
I think I have one other little mini question, which is just, is the Board of Supervisors at all aware of this coming? Does this float up to them? I mean, unless are we as members needing to start talking to them?
Well, we as members, there's two representatives for each supervisor. And like for mine, Rex Scott, I communicate through his contact, Kim.
Right.
And so I try and take notes here. I try and call her. And then she's also sometimes online. And it's our job just to kind of be the mouthpiece to the designated individual at the office. And then it's their job to filter it up to the supervisor.
That's what I'm getting at, is I mean, maybe that's a good point, that we each should be starting to talk to our reps to let them know that
Yes.
this is coming in the next 6 months. And my side question to that is, apart from that indirect or that side channel, is there another way that they tend to?
Ellen, I may have that answer. Ellen?
Yes, as part of the rate workbook and the financial plan for wastewater, that does go to the board. So it went to the board last year, the final version of that. And it did indicate that we had anticipated that we would need a rate increase this year. So assuming that they read all of the many things that they get, it was discussed and it was provided. I would second the idea that each of the members of the committee should be reaching out to your various supervisors. In addition, the conversations that I have with county leadership, that Jackson has with county leadership, those are also communicated in various discussions that they have individually with board members or as part of, just various conversations that they're having. So I would say that there are indirect ways that is going to them already. And I think that's it.
And Jeanette just pointed out that it was also in the RAC annual report.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. I just kind of wanted to know what was out
So,
there.
It's our last year. It sounds like everybody should, and it's probably pointless at this point at the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year, go ahead and reach out to, when do the new supervisors get them? When does they come in?
January 7th is the first board meeting. They get appointed, they were elected, so they effectively take office January 1st, but there is a board meeting on January 7th.
Okay, all right, because mine changed, so.
All of them stayed the same but one.
Yeah.
And that's Dr. Lee did not.
Right. Right. All right, okay, any other comments on this item? All right, we're gonna move on to, we just had the financial subcommittee report. Did you have any other things you want to add, Matt? No, you're good, okay.
No, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I missed one. The 2024 period 5 expense and revenue summary.
Oh, it's in that burrito.
Is Diane with us too?
Isai?
Good morning, everyone. I'll share my screen and we'll go over the data. Perfect. Hope everyone can see my screen here. So this our summary as a period 5 ending in November 30th. For the total O&M, we have our budget 104.8 million. The actuals over 39.2 million. We're projecting 103.4, giving us a positive variance of 1.3. Then we go down to the total O&M expenses, including contrast, depreciation, debt services. You have that the budget's still 183.4. The actual 69 million so far, and we're projecting 180.9 million, giving us a variance of almost 2.5 million right there. We're scrolling down to the revenue. Our adopted budget 199 million. Actual so far 75.6 million. Our projection would be 200.2, giving us a positive variance of 1.1 million to the good. For the rating ratio, our projection has dropped a little bit, so it's 1.36 so far right now. That's a projection.
Thank you. Anybody
Question?
have any questions? No? Thank you very much, Isai.
Thank you.
Ellen is indicating she needs to drop off, but,
Okay,
it would probably be appropriate. I don't know if Ellen already did drop off, but Art Couron is
oh, yes,
our new
we met him the other day. That would be great.
Director of Finance. And
Yeah.
I will just, if you don't mind interrupting, I'd ask Art to just introduce himself and wave his hand so you guys see that he's now joined the county and he's overlapping with Ellen for her final month approximately. And we wish him well, and now he's seeing what he's really up for. We had to join this meeting already.
Art, would you mind giving a brief introduction of yourself to the community?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay? I always wonder about the earbuds. Yeah, sure. Chair and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this morning. As Mr. Jenkins said, my name is Art Guadon. I am the incoming Finance and Risk Management Director. Ellen, as you all know, will be retiring sometime in the end of January, and I will be replacing her upon her retirement. I started with the county on Monday, and this past Monday, the 16th, and it's been a whirlwind, baptism by fire sort of thing. A little bit about my background. I am a Tucson native. I was born and raised here. Went to Mansfield, Tucson High, the U of A. Got my graduate degree from the University of Phoenix in business administration. I have 17 plus years of experience in local government. I started my local government experience back in 2007 with the town of Laurel Valley. I moved over to the city of Tucson in 2012, where I was hired as a financial specialist, managing primarily the debt. After about 2 years there, I moved up to finance manager, managing the banking and investment responsibilities for the city. After about 2 years doing that, I moved into a pension administrator role where I oversaw the city's pension and deferred comp programs. Shortly after my appointment there, they added benefits. So I did benefits administration for all of the city. And I did that for a number of years, maybe 6 or 7. In January of this year, they hired a benefits administrator and they gave me back treasury. So I was doing treasury, which encompasses banking, investments, and debt management. I also served as the interim risk management administrator this year from about February till September. So I have some background in risk management. And that brings us to today. My last day with the city of Tucson was on December 6th. As they mentioned, I started with the county on Monday, and I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and look forward to working with this group moving forward on the rate increases, as well as the the pillars that we talked about yesterday, because I did join the finance subcommittee meeting as well. With that, I'll pause there and ask if anybody has any specific questions, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Thank you. That's great. Anybody have any questions? Yes, we have, Alan.
Yeah, hi Art. I just wanted to say hi. We've crossed paths, I think both at Oro Valley and City of Tucson. So welcome. I'll look forward to working with you.
Yes, I did notice you were on, Alan. Wasn't sure, never really sure who remembers me from what period of time, but glad to see you again and look forward to working with you. Thanks for saying hello.
Great. Anybody else? Any other lost friends on our committee that? Excellent. Okay, thank you so much for being with us. We'll move on down the agenda to the CIP subcommittee report. And is Asia available? Is she on? No, she's not. She's not here. Anybody else from that committee want to report? I don't know if they've met since the last meeting. Don't think so.
We did have the CIP meeting.
Oh, was this month?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Craig, do you want to go ahead and do that?
Sure, I guess we met on December 10th. And obviously Javi went through the CIP, went through the new updated one. We went through the.
Hey Craig, let me just make sure they can hear you. Can you guys hear Craig?
Speak loud.
Speak loud.
Okay, sorry, so we met on the 10th, but went over the CIP. Hadn't changed a lot since the last one that was submitted, but they did have it broken up a little bit. They had a 10-year, short to the 5-year, kind of went over all the different buckets for annual work and how much they have to spend. So Jaime did a good job explaining that. Talked about some other projects coming up, centralized controls at Tres Rios, the Tres Rios backup power, third digester going out. So these are the main larger projects. Obviously, there's buckets for all the operations that they have to do and the rehab and if they have to do for the sewer lines, sewer manholes and such. So those are ongoing. And so they have a, set aside money for those each and every year based on history and what they spend. Another Datamox side stream process, the biosolids, and then obviously the Sarita Water Reclamation Facility, taking out the Greenway plant out of service. Sarita Interceptor, that's going to be taking that flow from Greenway or from Green Valley. Sorry, I don't know why I wrote Greenway. But from Green Valley all the way to the new plant that's going to be built. Possible future projects include the Trinity Tucson, which is kind of way out there in the future, but taking the ability to put an interceptor that would go to this new plant and take out the need for the Trinity Tucson treatment plant. Make sure I'm not screwing that up. And then the Tech Park sewer that is coming up. So that's an 8-inch line that was going to be built as part of the improvements for the road out there that the county is taking advantage of, upsizing to a 27-inch so that they can augment the SEI sewer. And then, like I said, there's the odor control projects, pump station projects, about $1 million a year. So all those are ongoing maintenance projects as identified. But well, there's much more than that. We didn't have a discussion. There was no actions taken during that time.
Okay.
We did talk about wanting to have another meeting. I think maybe in summertime. So there was a vote about having a meeting in the summertime or not. So everybody was in agreement. They wanted to meet in the summertime, go over it again.
Great. Well, thank you. That was really good. You didn't know you were going to do that. It was excellent. Thank you. All right. So moving on to the last thing, we have the Citizen Waters Advisory Committee report. And Alan Forrest, are you able to update us?
Yeah, I actually wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but it was I did look at the materials and the agenda, and so I can give you kind of an update on what they discussed. they met on December 11th, and a lot of it, the meeting was, year-end kind of housekeeping stuff, re-elected chair and vice chair. So Val Little will continue as the chair, and Rory Juneman continue as vice chair. Also set meeting schedule for 2025. It's basically the same meeting schedule we've had. What is it? The first Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. every month. And beyond that, the major item of discussion was update on the Tucson Water's One Water 2100 plan and the implementation plan going along with that. So if you're interested in that, I think you can go online and watch the presentation there or get the materials. But again, I wasn't able to participate with that, but I did get some input that it was a very good presentation and a lot going on there, a lot of good information. So that's about it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to item I, future agenda items. We at our upcoming meeting, what do we have going?
The rate increase schedule discussion and action item.
Mhm. And then we have a technical services and engineering update. And that's the only other big one.
So we're gonna be focusing more on
Yeah, we'll definitely be focusing. Okay, so any other items for down the line? We kind of know what we're gonna be doing. All right, then, I'll do the final call to the audience. Is there any audience members that would now like to speak up? No? Okay, all right, and then, I'll call for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So.
Kirsten.
And a second. We have a second, any discussion?
I'll second.
We have 2 seconds, but I don't need to. Yeah.
So we have a third.
For the third second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Oh, you guys all want to leave? What? We're done for the day. Thanks so much, and see you in January. Have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, happy
Thank you all.
holidays, everyone.
Yeah, same here.
Merry
Thanks.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes.